2024 has now concluded, and we got a lot of big releases such as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Shadow the Erdtree, Dragon Age the Veilguard, and of course, the Game of the Year, Astrobot. Just before the year wrapped up, we also got the latest player in the hero shooter genre in Marvel Rivals, and it's looking to stay for a while. 24 was an amazing year for games, and with 25 looking even more stat, we're going to be eating good all year long. Before we discuss how huge 24 was and look ahead to this year, we must first talk about what gaming was like growing up in the 2000s and early 2010s, and what caused gaming to become a cash cow for the big corps. What's going on with all you beautiful people, extraterrestrials, and whatever you want to identify yourself as? It's your boy Rob. Yes, just Rob. Back at it with another vid. Today we're going to be going over gaming last year as a whole, but first we have to talk about how we got to this point. If you enjoy reviews, analysis, and essays such as the vid you're watching, then you're in the right place. Consider subscribing to the channel and tapping the bell icon so you never miss a vid from yours truly. With everything out of the way, strap yourselves in, hands and feet inside the ride at all times, and somebody cue my intro. Gaming in its earlier days was a niche and even cult hobby from the outside, but those that were rooted in its culture often talked about how special gaming was in their life. My first memory of gaming was Mario Kart Double Dash on the GameCube. Playing for hours on end with my sisters and friends was a childhood memory that I will remember for the rest of my life and led to a path to gaming for my 20 plus years of life. No matter what type of gamer you are, there was truly a game for everyone since its inception. That's because while gaming did naturally become bigger over time, it still was a market that was dominated by hardcore fans instead of big corporations. A running joke in the Discord from the homies and I is I wanted to make my main character from Cyberpunk play like Ruby, who's the main character from the hack and slash game Wet, which was a game that was released in the PS3 and 360 era. To keep it short, Wet would be the outcome if Lara Croft sniffed coke and drunk some Jack Daniels. It was a game all about using your sword and twin pistols to pull off stylish combo kills by slowing down time after every leap, vault, wall run, or slide. Just like Ruby, I made my character focus on katanas and pistols, while making dashes give me a harder chance of being hit to focus on the hack and slash element. And of course, I had to include Ruby's rage mode with the Cyberpunk's Berserker cyberware. Wet was a simple game that wasn't trying to give you a giant open world and over-the-top cinematics. Instead, their appeal was simple. We are a 7 to 9 hour game, and we're going to give you a gun-toting, sword-wielding merc and give you a bunch of enemies to kill and an open playground to kill them as fly as possible. And I greatly appreciated games from this era. While it didn't sell well just like a lot of the 2000 hack and slashers, Wet undoubtedly cultivated a fan base of those who were still begging for a potential sequel. Of course, you had your Skyrims, Fallout, GTAs, and Mass Effects, just to name a few. But gaming a lot of time back in this era had few innovators and a lot more devs who were just adding to the culture. Not everything needs to, or better yet, be an innovation, because if that was the case, the ceiling would always increase as expectations would be bigger for each said game. Think of a game like Hi-Fi Rush, for example, and I'm gonna keep shouting them out because Tango Gameworks made a fantastic game with Hi-Fi Rush. But think of a game like that. It didn't do anything spectacular or over the top, but a unique aspect of being able to have a main character focus on rhythm as their combat and with their platforming. It didn't push the boundaries for gaming, but it definitely added to what a platformer could be. Keep a note of that because we would definitely be revisiting this talking point towards the end of the vid. To keep iterating on the fun factor of this era of gaming, for those that didn't get a chance to experience this, developers were willing to try making a lot more different games. Hell, Wet was one of the first games developed by Behavior Interactive, who's now known for their Dead by Daylight game. Naughty Dog, who's been making the same game for over a decade, literally birthed a PlayStation mascot in Crash Bandicoot, and also Jak and Daxter. With gaming still being more hardware based as well, a lot of gamers still went out to stores such as Walmart, Best Buy, Blockbuster, yes Blockbuster, and even GameStop. This is where the real gems of gaming were found, especially for a kid like me at the time. I discovered games such as Crash Cat Team Racing, Def Jam, Mad World, Sly Cooper, and so many more just off random GameStop hauls whenever my mom said I can get a new game. Hell, I even discovered one of my favorite animes of all time, Yu Yu Hakusho, from his video game first. Yes, I bet a lot of you didn't even know Yu Yu Hakusho had a 3D arena fighting game on the PS2. This later led me to discover the anime after an episode of Dragon Ball Z, and I immediately recognized Yusuke since, of course, he's the main character in the game. While I do enjoy the endless Steam sales, the comfort of being able to purchase games from my desk, I definitely missed that lost element of just picking up a game not knowing what to expect. Technically, you can still do this, and I've done it recently with a game like Balatro, but with so many different outlets nowadays, you can know the ending of a game without even playing it. As gaming became bigger and bigger and pushing newer boundaries with games such as Mass Effect, God of War 3, and the Halo and Gears trilogies, yes, trilogy, because after their third games, I don't know what the Dells were doing. Gaming started to become something that not just basement dwellers or quote-unquote nerds were invested in, but also celebrities too. Lupe Fiasco, for example, was always a big Street Fighter fan and definitely became a member of the LGC after his impressive win in Street Fighter V against legendary longtime player Daigo.
Okay,
Can he
like
clutch it out?
No anti-air again.
Daigo
Grappling
blocking
for the start. Wow, missed the
no.
sweep. Okay, cross
Spacing.
counter.
Okay,
I think he
that's
got it. I think that's
We're going
it.
to the last game, last round. Last game, last round. Lupe still comes. He's feeling the pressure now.
Oh no, and he's playing for the two-player. What is it going on?
Wait, he mixes it up with the V trigger.
He threw off Daigo's timing.
This could happen.
Oh, and throwing too early.
Hold on.
Wait,
The
what's
crowd-
going on?
It's gonna happen. Lupe,
Oh my,
calm
he's
down.
activated it. Will he throw some lightning at him?
Don't be.
Oh,
my
he's trying to uppercut. He's trying to uppercut.
That's 3. You win, Lupe.
Daigo needs
You
to
won.
get on that
You're the
return
best.
ticket.
You're the best,
A
Lupe.
return ticket back to Nippon. The Gaijin have persevered. This is
He didn't know he won. He was ready to continue whooping Daigo's ass.
the last samurai mashing on that rematch button.
He's feeling the emotion right now. He
And
can't
he is
believe what
collapsed.
just happened. Look
Wow,
at that.
he is
can't
crying.
believe it. He can't believe.
Tears of
So how did gaming become this niche yet captivating and exciting art form that over time started to get more and more people to enjoy it, to turn into this run-of-the-mill, generic, money-hungry shell of its former self? Well, there are a lot of different fingers you can point out, but I undoubtedly blame these guys. Well, mostly this guy. I've already covered GTA 5 and how it canned the innovation that Rockstar Games once had in previous vid, which I will have linked in the bio. But before we can talk about Fortnite, we need to talk about what I believe inspired them with Grand Theft Auto 5. To keep it simple, GTA 5 has been out since 2013 and still going strong well into the new year. How are they able to do that? It's simple, GTA Online. Since its launch, GTA 5 has generated $8.6 billion, yes, billion dollars, and according to an article of 2022 from PC Gamer, just the online mode made $500 million alone. Rockstar initially was going to make a single-player DLC for its 5th installment, but after watching the money roll in, they quickly focused solely on the online mode. But wait, doesn't that sound a bit familiar? Fortnite originally had a mode called Save the World, which was a PvE zombie horror mode, where you would use the building aspect to defend yourself against enemies. Epic decided to take a chance and create a new free-to-play mode that would be in beta for new players. Unless you've been living under a rock, that mode turned to be the Battle Royale mode, and it's been a hit since 2017. Unlike GTA, I don't have too many strong opinions about Fortnite. However, it's worth noting that with the success of Fortnite, Epic has shut down promising games such as Paragon and Rumbleverse. While I personally think that Rumbleverse was 2 cans of ass, it did have a cult fan base that thoroughly enjoyed the game. According to an article from IGN back in 2021, Epic Games has generated $9 billion in 2 years back-to-back in 2018 and 19. To make matters worse, Epic also included a Battle Pass mode to give players new cosmetic items as they progress through the game, all for $10. Now, while I don't particularly have an issue with Battle Passes too much, I even have the Battle Pass for Marvel Rivals, albeit only costing $5, as long as it only affects cosmetic items. COD just released a limited time Squid Game event for its Fortnite-inspired Battle Royale mode called Warzone, where players are able to play the popular red light, green light game from Squid Game. Now, I always give credit when it's due. The event looks fire and adds a new element to the gameplay of Warzone by forcing players to have quick reaction time as any movement will cause them to be sniped off the map. The problem I have with this mode is that good old Activision is being greedy as they always are. They have 2 battle passes, a free one and a premium one that costs $10. Now, of course, you can get on the free one and be fine, but everyone knows that all the exclusive skins will be in the premium version. Not to mention that this event will only last until the 24th of January, so you don't have all that much time to decide on whether you want to purchase the premium version, leaving players to have the FOMO effect or the fear of missing out, for sure. Speaking of the skins, Call of Duty has some of the goofiest skins featuring Nicki Minaj, Homelander, 21 Savage, and even Messi. Mind you, this used to be a war game. There's also NBA 2K who has a battle pass, which I don't even need to go into details about how scummy that shit is. You already have to spend $70 for the game, and if you're a My Part player, which majority of the player base is, then you're gonna have to spend extra money just to get your player to a base 85 overall. Now you have these 2 season passes to add on to it, and it's just a damn shame how far from grace that game fell. Now of course, you don't have to spend the extra money to get to an 85 overall, but we all know that it's gonna take at least 200 hours just to grind your player to an 85 on your own, so you have fun with that. Aside from microtransactions, you also have the grifting, which has been an all-time high in the past 2 years. Again, I'll cover this topic in the previous vid, so I'll just briefly go over what grifting is. Grifting is when people spread misinformation or look for the smallest detail in the game that they don't like and base that on their sole reason for not purchasing the game. Now that's all fine and dandy, but they go on to be the loudest online talking about why a game they aren't even going to play is trash or woke. Naughty Dog released a trailer for a brand new IP called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet at the Game Awards, which, side note Naughty Dog, please just drop the name Intergalactic. That shit is way too long and not consumer friendly. It looks to be set in the world of an 80s theme outer world where we play as a bounty hunter. Instead of highlighting the trailer being that, hey, Naughty Dog is back and they're making a new IP instead of the same games like, I don't know, Uncharted and The Last of Us, unfortunately, the highlight for the trailer happened to be that people online were calling the game trash and woke simply because the character is a woman and she's bald and unattractive in their eyes. I'm gonna be so real. When I was looking at the trailer in real time as the Game Awards was wrapping up, the last thing on my mind was if the character was attractive or not. That's simply not what I value in the game. In the words of the great, the Black Hokage, a lot of y'all mamas is mid and a lot of y'all mamas is really honestly ugly as fuck, so why does it matter how a collection of pixels look? We didn't even see any real gameplay of how the combat would be, and yet you have people already calling the game trash because of a bald head. The real thing you all need to be worried about is if Naughty Dog plans on making the combat feel like The Last of Us in space, because if they do that, then I'm officially done with them. They deadass have been making the same games for a decade now. I don't want to play another game where it's just a cinematic third-person cover shooter. I'm good on that. It's pretty ironic that gamers are more and more political and want to shout that everything is woke, but a lot of them don't even know what metaphor is, and that game is easily the most woke game of last year. Regardless of the weird grifting hate that's been occurring for the past 3 years or so, gaming was starting to go back to its roots to enter a renaissance period where simple, high quality, but fun games were being pushed to the forefront instead of these big cinematic third person, over the shoulder, over the top action adventure, or a huge multiplayer game with tons of battle passes and microtransactions were occurring. And it all kicked off with this game. Meet Joseph Ferris, the founder of Hazelight Studios. Back in 2017, Ferris lit the gaming world on fire when he was brought on by Jeff Keighley to promote his very first game called A Way Out. It was this moment where the passion of Ferris let out his frustration on the Oscars that led to one of the most memorable moments in the Game Awards short history.
It's like, I'm telling you this, okay. There are like passionate people, there are crazy people, and there is me. I'm so passionate to be here. I'm so excited to be and meeting this industry people. It's crazy, man. Like, look, the Oscars should fuck themselves up. This is the shit. I'm telling you, this is the real shit. What is this? Sorry, I'm taking it out. Let me just, give me a minute. I want to take your time. Look. Okay, can you swear here? Can you swear? Okay. Fuck the Oscars, you know? Fuck the Oscars! Fuck you! I'll tell you!
See, Ferris was originally a film director who didn't find much success with his movies and was looking for a career change, which led him to game development and founding Hazelight Studios. The very first game was A Way Out, which was a co-op game about 2 prisoners who was making a daring escape from prison. The game was alright, but it set the foundation of what the studio was going to be about, bringing back fun, couch play, co-op experiences. See, this wasn't something I was new to, as I played games similar to A Way Out, such as Army of Two and Kane and Lynch, but for younger gamers or people who were getting into gaming for the first time, this was something that they were unfamiliar with in a landscape where big online multiplayer games were taking over. A Way Out went on to review at a 78 on Metacritic, and it was reviewed positively for those that got to experience it. Ferris and the rest of Hazelight team went on to announce their second game, It Takes Two, which they later released in March of 2021. Gaming at this point was becoming mostly ran by AAA companies, which primarily focused on either live service multiplayer games or big cinematic action adventure experiences. Think of games such as Fortnite, Destiny, God of War, Red Dead, The Last of Us 2, and Final Fantasy VII, to name a few, which all released from around this time. And you also have two of those games win the Game of the Year in God of War and The Last of Us 2. It Takes Two was praised well for its level design and engaging puzzle, and even had a solid story. Well, how well the games were received, it was eventually nominated for Game of the Year in 2021. We're going up against heavy hitters this year such as Resident Evil Village, Ratchet & Clank, Psychonauts, Metroid Dread, and Deathloop. Nobody really expected It Takes Two to walk away with this award. Until...
And the 2021 Game of the Year is... It Takes Two.
Unreal, this thing. I was up in that stage 2017 saying fuck the Oscar, and now actually in a way the Oscars got fucked because the Game Awards is getting way better. So I know there are 30 seconds. I'm going to thank my let me see, my beautiful team for a fantastic work. Obviously without them I can't do anything. And also I want to say I want to give this award to my daughter Mio and my soon-to-come daughter Zoe. Thank you again. I'm really proud. I'm shaking. Look at me, man. This is like a big, big moment for me. And Neil, you're a big inspiration. Thank you. Thank you.
Ferris and Hazelight did it. They did the impossible, won the Game of the Year in just their second game. This was a major shift in gaming for two reasons. Although they were now backed by EA, Hazelight was still relatively considered an indie, which made them the first indie studio to ever win the award. This was also the year of the platformers, as 4 of the 6 nominees were platformer. We'll come back to this point later, of course. Even though I was ecstatic, the rest of the community didn't really seem to care as much until next year's Game Awards. Elden Ring was released in February, and as you all know, the rest was history. It became a cultural icon in gaming that pushed what exploration could be in the open world game, and introduced a lot of newer players into the Soulsborne genre. As I mentioned in my Shadow of the Urge review, this game birthed a lot of Soulsborne clones. Some good, some not so good. And even had fans wanting for more with the Shadow of the Urge 3 DLC, and now even a standalone game coming out later this year. Anyone who played this game knew it was going to win Game of the Year, even over the 2018 God of War sequel, Ragnarok. Well, everyone besides the Sony ponies, because they were pissed that Elden Ring won. Ragnarok was a solid game, but it felt like a safe game for them and didn't really push anything new from the development team, and felt the same. An over-the-shoulder, third-person cinematic action-adventure game versus a game that transcended a genre and brought newer players into this ecosystem. It was a no-brainer. This would later follow up until 23, where we would have the big debate of Spider-Man versus Baldur's Gate 3. Now, I don't want to undermine how stacked 23 was as well. Just this year alone, we got Alan Wake 2, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Dead Space Remake, Dave the Diver, Hi-Fi Rush, Final Fantasy 16, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I can go on and on. If you didn't like anything this year, then you probably just don't like gaming as much as you think. However, there was one undisputed king, and everyone knew it once it dropped. It's crazy to me that we got 2 generational games back to back, and people will still say gaming is dead. Baldur's Gate 3 has the deepest customization and skill tree I've ever seen in a game, and you can really make any build you want. Seriously, you can start off as a rogue that ends up being built like a tank. So when they eventually won Game of the Year, no one was surprised, except for Sony fans. They ranted online about how nobody trying to roll a dice and the combat was too slow. Newsflash, other than adding Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2 is just like Ragnarok, with just more of the same and didn't lack much innovation. It's not a bad game, but BG3 literally broke records for player counts and sales and is still going strong with their latest update. With the past 3 Game of the Years either being a return to form in co-op play in It Takes Two, or groundbreaking cultural shifting games like Elden Ring and BG3, it was undeniable that gaming was going back to its roots and trying to make a good fun product instead of a good product that rats in money. And now we lead to the Kobe year, aka 24. If 23 was crack, then 24 had to be opium. We started the year off with a personal favorite of mine in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, who now earned a spot in my Mount Rushmore of RPGs. We also got a new installment of Tekken, a remake of a cult favorite Persona with Persona 3 Reload, as well as a Metaphor from Atlas, and a worldwide phenomenon for the time being in Helldivers 2. I'm still a bit bittersweet I got into the game on the tail end of its hype, but I'm glad that it got the success that it did because the game blew up strictly off of word of mouth and social media presence. We also got some notable first-comers in Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, and what actually could be the Overwatch killer, and of course Marvel Rivals. But no game stood out more than Team Asobi's Astrobot. The first time I saw this game, I was immediately hooked and jealous that I wasn't going to have the chance to play it due to it being on PS5 only. With awesome level designs and including a plethora of Sony characters such as Kratos, Ellie, Joker, Crash Bandicoot, and a ton more, Astrobot went on to become the highest rated Metacritic game of the year, sitting at a 94. With one of the most stacked Game of the Year nominees since 2017, a winner had to be crowned.
And the Game of the Year is... Astrobot!
Astrobot was a celebration of 30 years of PlayStation, and with level designs that could rival the legendary Mario, it was well deserved. While most gamers were giving Astrobot and Team Asobi their flowers, there was a section of gamers who were clamoring that the wrong game was chosen and instead should have went to Black Myth Wukong. If I had to summarize Black Myth Wukong in a few words, it'd probably be, it was alright. Coming from someone who was initially excited to play Wukong as it was coming to the West, after playing it, I couldn't help but feel like I've played this game before. No, seriously, think about the similarities. A cinematic over-the-shoulder third-person action-adventure game where you're playing as a guy who goes on their own personal adventure. The only difference is Kratos was looking to go to the highest mountain point to spread his wife's ashes, while son Wukong was looking to acquire all the relics. Even their combat and their different stances you can use are similar to one another. So let's get one of the main topic points out the way that people were saying online for why Wukong should have won. This has to probably be the dumbest take I've heard out of the bunch. There's never been a rule or requirement that in order for a game to win Game of the Year, it has to be exclusive to multiple consoles. Overwatch and Zelda Breath of the Wild, who won the awards back in 2016 and 17 respectively, were both exclusive to one plat as Overwatch was still on PC and Breath of the Wild was a Switch exclusive. They're also hypocritical because I guarantee you that they were the same people complaining about God of War and Spider-Man 2 not winning the Game of the Year, which, ding ding ding, you guessed it, both are PlayStation exclusives. I can agree that Astrobot is inspired by Mario, however, all inventions and art forms are inspired by one another. Get over it. Astrobot took the haptic feedback of the PS5 controller and introduced many different ways to complete levels by shaking your controller, using it as a steering mechanic, and even having it blow into your controller on some levels, so that's pretty much where the similarities stop between the two. Also, the fact that you're comparing Astrobot to the greatest platformer of all time only helps further his legacy. Mario has yet to win a Game of the Year, by the way. And you have my personal favorite where they show an action-based cutscene from Wukong and say, "How did Astrobot beat this game for Game of the Year?" Listen bruh, there's a lot of flaw issues that Wukong had that a lot of players aren't talking about enough. There was no map, which caused you to get quite often lost, especially when you have to backtrack. There were hella invisible walls which break immersion and give you a false sense of exploration because you would think you can go to one sector of the level, only to get hit with an invisible wall. The game was hella optimized and had a decent amount of crashes and frame rate drops. The camera sucked ass, and I often had to fight both the boss and the camera itself. The game was cool, it was fun. I definitely had fun for it for the most part. But Wukong would even win Game of the Year if it was nominated in the past 5 award shows. In my opinion, it shouldn't even have been nominated for something like Game of the Year, and instead it should have went to Stellar Blade or Helldivers 2 for that nomination. Now, if you think Wukong should have won, but at least can understand why Astrobot won, then I'm not referring to you. However, you're one of those delusional fans that think Wukong should have won no matter what, then sit down and let me talk to you. The reason why Astrobot won is simple. It was just a pure fun game that fully utilized the hardware of the PS5 controller to its fullest potential. It was a love letter to gaming that celebrated 30 plus years of PlayStation, and it wasn't about making the most money, turning the game into an esport, or even intentionally trying to win Game of the Year. But it was simply about turning on the game and having fun. As I mentioned with It Takes Two, it wasn't about completely innovating the platform and genre or breaking a new mold in gaming, but it was simply just about adding to the culture of game. So now we know what the potential of a platformer can be with both It Takes Two and Astrobot. I hope you all enjoyed the vid. Writing this script was a bitch, honestly, because I had a lot of different ways I wanted to approach the vid, but I had to condense it down just for the vid to not be too long. As you can tell, I absolutely love gaming, and it's been a huge part of my life, and making these videos often feels therapeutic for me. With gaming becoming bigger and bigger each year, there's been a lot of cancers coming to the space, whether that's greedy corporations that only want a piece of the pie and don't care much about the actual culture of gaming, or people who likes to just shout at the gamers woke simply because they don't find a collection of pistols that they find attractive. Honestly, it's up to us to just be more responsible with how we make these purchases. If you see a scummy battle pass practice, don't buy it. If you see a skin that looks trash and it's $30, do not purchase it. If you see somebody online who's just shouting at the gamers woke simply because a character has a bald head, then don't even engage with them. Just purely ignore them, man, and just focus on uplifting gaming. We need more people like Faraz in the space that are these big developers, but still has that passion and love for gaming, and we need to just support any brand new IP that comes out. Well, maybe not any, but if it looks interesting and you want to give it a try, hey, purchase it. You might like it, you might not, but we need more new IPs instead of just having the same run-of-the-mill games every single year. If you all liked the video, then hit the thumbs up button for me on your way out, and consider subbing to the channel if you want to see more content like this from me in the future. Until next time, I hope you all stay safe and stay dangerous. It's been your boy Rob. Yes, just Rob. And I'm out. Peace.